Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast, the recap of Lombardia, our last LRCP race recap of the season. We'll, of course, have a whole host of additional content coming ASAP to your ears. But, of course, we have the most exciting, anticipated monument of the season, Lombardia, 241 Ks from Como to Bergamo. Beautiful race in terms of the scenery as they head east from Como. They go across a lot of famous climbs, most of which are like 5 to 7% and about 20 minutes to 25 minutes long. It's a long race. It's 6.5 hours of racing and well over how many meters of climbing? 4,600 meters of climbing. 5 and 40 hours 45 of racing. And then the whole race hinges on two climbs. The Passo di Ganda, which is about a 20-minute climb, 22-minute climb, record broken today, obviously. 9K, 7%. The last 3Ks are 9%. There's then a false summit, a fast technical descent. Well, no, actually not that fast, but technical descent into the valley, short 6K valley, then a cobbled, or paved rather, climb, hill, 1,300 meters, 7.5%, where we saw maybe Chavez and Rosa, their edition of Lombardia, some great attacks there back in the day. And then a 2K descent into the finish in Bergamo, which is a flat finish for the sprint. And Poggy was the heavy favourite. Benji, any other news pre-race?
We didn't have any Pitcock drama this year, like we had last year, of him not being selected or something at Ineos when he moved to Q36.5. But I don't think there was specific Lombardia drama. So I think we've got some other major drama in the sport that we can discuss in a weekly show at some point. But I think I want to start off with the breakaway here, because we said there would be a larger breakaway because some other teams will realize, okay, this Pogacar guy, pretty good cyclist. So maybe instead of just riding towards the final climb with him, we should try and go in the breakaway or something. And there's a few teams that did that, which is 14 riders in total. Ganna, Langolotti and Hamilton for Ineos. Matthews and Hellemose for Jayco, Calzoni for Q36.5. Pretty sure that's a folded pizza. Kurt, Picnic Postinel. Bice, Polti, Vervaeke, Sudal Quickstep, which he's been pretty good lately, also at the World Champs and so forth. Gernalek for Arkea, Glivar for Alpecin de Koning, and Lemon for Visma. And last person, most important one in the breakaway actually in hindsight, Quinn Simmons for Little Trek. That is the 14-man breakaway. But when I opened my TV, Patrick, don't know about you, I looked at the screen and I said to myself, okay, we're going to see away team members controlling this breakaway as we expect them to do, but what is Bora doing on my screen?
I didn't understand it, actually. So, I watched the break formation live because I thought this could be the most interesting part of the race. Yeah. And, Pog was $1.15. It's long. It was long, wasn't it? It's like Winks.
I'm not a betting guy.
Yeah, you're not a betting guy. I don't bet on cycling.
The only bet I've really been emotionally invested in my entire life was in the 2021 Tour of Flanders, I think, where I said Pogacar was going to win the Tour of Flanders, and then he got beaten and started attacking Van Barle after the finish line.
Right.
That was sad.
But now we have there's a phenomenon in betting, and it applies to actually how you forecast sports events, which is heavy favorites are actually undervalued, and people will tend to bet long shots. There's a long shot favorite bias, and when you do the implied probability of Pogacar's odds, it's actually he's significantly more likely to win than those odds suggest, but the reality is people are not going to put down a lot of money on it. I don't know where I was going with this. Oh no, the point is that should dictate. Let's say you accept that reality. So what's the implied probability of that? 1 over. It's
sorry, Patrick. Ignore the odds. Ignore the chances.
Yeah. Everyone knows Pog's going to win.
Last year.
Yeah. Everyone knows Pog's going to win.
If you're in the peloton at the foot of Ganda and no one's ahead, then Pogacar wins the race.
And it makes your race. It makes your race crucially, because also I just do not believe anyone else can win no matter what you do, even if you got in the break, because UAE's team is fucking stacked. I mean, the team is Vine, Micah, Del Toro, Sivakov, Adam Yates, Pogacar, Del Toro. It's ridiculous. It does not matter if you go in the break, they will control it to win. But if you go in the break and you make it halfway up Gander, and you can do the Paso de Gander 1 minute or 2 minutes slower than the second place guy or the fourth place guy, your chance of getting a top 5, a podium, or a top 10 significantly increases. Because UAE will always control you. Like Pog's getting across to you. It doesn't. But to actually get a good result, the way they... Because if you wait in the peloton and then UAE do the lead out, and you're not the top climber, like Quinn Simmons is not. Quinn Simmons is not better than Paul Seychelles at climbing.
No.
Your only way to get a top 10 or a top 5 is also to go in the break. So really, everyone should do it. X were trying, but yeah, the break formed. It was quite interesting. Simmons went off the gun. Is there anyone else who needed to be in there?
Well,
everyone really, yeah.
I think Bora should have been in there instead of pacing in the peloton, because just to look at it from a different perspective, Bora pacing in the peloton not only controls the breakaway up the road, which, to be honest, if you're not in the breakaway, then controlling the breakaway is an option, but the secondary factor is it also makes it so that UAE can save their energy more and more. And the more energy that UAE saves, the harder the lead out will be on Paso de Ganda for an attack of Pogacar. So it's only logical for Bora, even if they're not in the breakaway, to not even initially help controlling this breakaway anyway. Then later, if the breakaway goes out of control, then maybe you can start blinking. But if you start blinking before the game even begins, then I'm sorry, but you lost the negotiation. And UAE is benefiting from this. And at the end of the day, the breakaway is controlled at, I think, maybe 2 minutes 30 for most of this race. Eventually goes to 3 minutes at a certain point. But yeah, that was a brain-dead strategy by
what are they doing?
They got no chance to win from the peloton. I'm sorry. Primoz Roglic ain't going to do it here.
But not even that, like, they made the race. The race was really hard. Like, when they were pacing with 2. Whilst UAE were pacing with 1, with Novak, and they were pacing with 2. I remember Pog was even telling Civica, like, chill, like, we don't need to make it that hard.
Especially when it's Roglic.
That's what I don't understand. Like, Roglic has the worst fatigue resistance of like the big leaders here.
Like it's visible in the last 3 years of the sport that any races with high energy expenditure that Roglic drops off. It's the Unipuerto stages that he's good at. The stages where it's a long climb at the end, but not necessarily the multiple climbs in the first 75% of the stage. That's where Roglic really works out. And to make them see the race harder for Roglic, then it sounds a lot like Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe has no clue what Primoz Roglic is good at based on how they race today. But also, regardless of what he's good at, it's still stupid to do what he did.
But that's why I don't really believe in the idea that, yeah, if everyone goes in the break and cooperates perfectly, it will, like, result in an outcome where UAE or Pog can't win. I mean, we can talk about from a game theory perspective. Like, we saw it in Piemonte on Friday when Astana started to pace the breakaway for Scaroni because they want a chance to come top 3 with Scaroni at the time. There just will always be a team that paces and helps UAE, and you have to accept that because you are not going to get 22 different teams mutually aligned on the idea that they are going to optimize their win probability from 0 to 1%. Let's all collectively behave in a fashion where we improve our individual win probabilities from 0 to 2% or 1%. They're just not going to do that. They're going to be like, all right, fuck it, Piemonte, let's get some UCI points for Scaroni because we know usually he can run top 3 or something. He didn't, but that's, yeah.
Oppositely, it is then smart from certain teams to have multiple rides in the breakaway. For example, Ineos being in there with Galan and Hamilton, great idea.
And look what Bernal still did. It didn't stop him.
It's not because you put riders in the breakaway that it suddenly removes the chance of your rider in the peloton to perform or anything. Like, it's not like Bernal needs 7 riders around him at the end of this monument. That's not how that works. So they're hedging their bets on both, and that was the best strategy to do for them. And I think they got the best out of this race that they possibly could doing so.
Definitely.
It doesn't mean that they're winning the race, but it's better than getting 20th.
Yeah, and I don't know. Bernal still could do what he needed to do. to get a result. So you just put your second best climber in the break. Anyway, that's enough about the break talk. Probably that was the only main point of tactical discussion for the stage. Was surprising to see Bora pace. But anyway, UAE had it under control regardless. Tight gap. And over 6 hours of racing like this, 4,600 meters of climbing, you know, with the falling leaves, maybe the cooler temperatures, although it's good weather here at the moment. I feel like I got the back end of summer. You got to stay fueled. And Morten is trusted by some of the fastest riders in the peloton. If you're watching some of these races and you're trying to see a rider who maybe not even sponsored by Morten, but they're sneaking a Morten gel or taking bicarb during some of these long races. But the racing season's winding down. That's what Lombardia brings, the falling leaves. And that's exactly where Morten can come in for your base miles, because their hydrogel fueling system, I'm going to get real with you, Benji. This might be TMI. This might be TMI. It's not in the read.
I'm terrified.
If I have high degrees of stress, I have acid reflux, and that's not my diet's bad. My diet's pretty good. And if I exercise, I need to wait like 3 hours, 4 hours, especially running, otherwise I'll get it terrible and burn my throat. Whatever. This is TMI, but
that's fine.
The Morten gels I can actually take, and the bars, especially the gels and the hydrogel, I can actually take, and I have no issues. I can actually fuel during exercise, even though I have that issue, that problem, but I can still take Morten and stay fueled during exercise because it just doesn't interact with my stomach in a negative way. Now, you'll test it out for yourself, but yeah, I just wanted to actually share something from my personal experience rather than doing like a scripted read today. Yeah, you got
the same issues even in the last week. I've had acid reflux, especially during heavy exercise, but I can confirm in that. Is that a podcaster thing?
Maybe. But it's incredible because I really have to be careful what I'm eating before in the morning, before like a long run or a long ride, but I can still take as much like carbs as I need, especially as it's all the race to take more carbs, and that's why maybe the riders are going so much faster. So yeah, that's my really personal plug for Morten. You can get 20% off your first order at morten.com with the code Morten Lombardia. It's valid on all products except bicarb, one-time use per customer, and it's only valid for the next couple of days. So try it out, morten.com, 20% off, Morten Lombardia for 20% off until October 13. Thanks to Morten for supporting the show. All right, race continues. Break starts to disintegrate. On the second last long climb, Quinn Simmons goes solo. He says, I need to go. Crocetta, he goes clear.
Yep.
UAE just they're just doing their thing. They're not going overkill, right?
Yeah, I feel like they had Sivakov on the front for a long time, so they tried to make him survive certain areas. I think Zambla Alta and so forth, and then the run into was a final climb as well. So it even came to the point that I saw social media lighting up. I saw them thinking, okay, this gap is going from 2:30 to 3 minutes. There is hope for the people that want an interesting race, that Quinn Simmons might be offering a challenge against Tadej Pogacar, but I think that's also a bit very hopeful, a bit fairy tale story, because Tadej Pogacar can take 2.5 minutes back in 3 kilometers. We knew that could happen, especially on the last few kilometers of Ganda. But the question is, does Tadej Pogacar have the legs, Patrick? Are we doing this? Are we trying to hype up a race here? Does Tadej Pogacar have the legs? You're muted. Buddy.
Sorry,
it's the last race of the season.
The answer is yes, he has the legs. I mean, what are we talking about here? I mean, that's like, yeah, he has the legs. I think what the UAE wanted to do was they wanted to protect Del Toro. Like, they didn't even have to use Yates today. But when they did the descent off Crocetta, I noticed a couple of things. Del Toro, technically not so good. Pogacar nearly went into the back of him a couple of times into some corners because Del Toro was braking so hard. Sivakov was sending the descent, so I think their idea was control Simmons on the descent pretty well. Sivakov did a great job there. But yeah, they wanted Del Toro to be able to ride his own race for podium, and they didn't need to use him. So that was why they didn't just burn through all their guys, I thought.
Yeah, and also they're also realistic. They know their strength. They know which riders are up the front, and it's also beneficial that it's a solo rider being up ahead. Like, Simmons being 3 minutes ahead is a much better scenario for UAE than a group of 7 being 3 minutes ahead. Because normally that group of 7 will still fall apart on the Gonda climb, and that's not a danger anyway, but it feels more fearful than a one rider up the front. So Simmons being alone 3 minutes ahead had zero chance of winning this race, but that doesn't take away that it's a good move in the first place, because being up there at that moment might not mean you can keep Tadej Pogacar behind you, but you hinted at it earlier already. You might be able to keep another top 10 rider behind you and maybe fight for a certain top 10 position in the process, which the little track leaders might not necessarily have been capable of. We'll see that once we get to it. But I think we don't need to stir around the pot too much. I think we can get to the Passo di Ganda, where UAE Team Emirates started pacing and the gap started dropping. You mentioned it, Del Toro in the wheel of Pogacar. So
they didn't start there. So I'm not sure if Sanremo, he'll be the solution for Cipressa. That was my impression from today.
Del Toro failed to be in the positioning part of MSR this year, but I think last year he was actually okay positioned.
He came back, but yeah, he entered Ganda in P50 today.
Did Remco? Remco did that better actually today.
No, Remco got the lead out from. Yeah. Remco was up there. I mean, it's a 20-minute climb. It doesn't really matter. It's not exactly a Brittany sprint lead out, but yeah, it was Micah, Vine, Pog, Del Toro. Yates was kind of just chilling at the back, trying to move up, and then Remco let Del Toro take the wheel of Pog, which once you saw that happen, that's it. You don't even need to see the rest of the race. That tells you everything. If Remco had the intention to follow Pog, he does not let Del Toro take the wheel of Pog from him because he knows what's going to happen. Micah winds it up. Pog salutes him when he pulls off. And then Vine just starts fucking drilling it. Like they did it it was like what they did last year. Last year they did a simulation on Strava with Sivakov, and then he did 10 minutes lap. Pog went. They did the same thing, I think, yesterday or the day before. So Vine did the same thing. The group's in splinters. It's like
Roglic
6 guys
being
that put them. Yep.
And dropped. So Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, fantastic job today, guys. But the riders that were still there were Michael Storer, who at that point, sure, great performance, but we'll see whether he can hold on to the top 3, whatever. We see Paul Sixas being part of that group. Remco Evenepoel, of course, Pogacar still part of that. Jay Vine, the one leading. There was also a 6th rider, but I actually don't remember who the 6th rider was. But the fact that I don't remember him means that he probably wasn't the most competitive rider. Del Toro, right? He was still on at that point, yes?
Yep, yeah.
That's the top 6. So those are the riders that had a bit of a gap on the likes of Bernal, Kion Uiterbroek, Sam Yates, Lenny Martinez, etc., Roglic, etc. So that's 6 riders, but they're still behind Quinn Simmons now. So it's the gap is melting. So it looks like Quinn Simmons is going to get caught by whoever, which mysterious person will end up dropping the others on this climb, Patrick. And it doesn't take long before Jay Vine is donezo with his pull, and Tadej Pogacar launches his move, and no response. Remco Evenepoel doesn't even respond. Do you think it was his saddle that was 2 inches low, or was it just a mature reaction of knowing that if he follows, he might explode?
He can't follow. I mean, I haven't seen the data yet, but I bet Pog, they're doing it minutes faster on a 20-minute climb. They're doing a 20-minute climb minutes faster. He can't follow. And if he does follow, he'll just explode and go nowhere. So he can feel what he's capable of doing. Probably the best chance for Remco to win is actually not to follow. And it's to do his maximum pace with no acceleration to the top. That's also what happened in Amstel. So I think totally fine. He just starts to pace at a decent pace. Pog gets to 30 seconds pretty fast. He's got Alaphilippe's already, Alaphilippe did a great job for Storer. So Storer's on the wheel of Remco. Sexas is there. Del Toro's at the back. Shoulders are moving a lot. I think that's his tell, when his shoulders start to move a lot. But he's there. And we see the group behind basically stop. This is now the 3rd group, or 4th group if you don't count Simmons. So Pidcock, Kion Uiterbroek, Lenny Martinez, Roglic, Carapaz, they're stopped.
Piganzoli or not yet?
Piganzoli, he does his own pace and then uses the descent.
We'll get to that.
But they just start attacking each other. Kian was pacing, Lenny counters him, Alaphilippe goes after him, and then that's the last we see of that group, actually. We never see them really again on camera. Pog goes to the top, gets the steep bit. Simmons gets onto him, tries to hold it. It's too steep. It's like 8.5%, 9% average. Drops Simmons. But Simmons is Simmons is just doing his pace, and he's looking good for the podium almost at this point of the race. The problem for him is Remco accelerates. He sees maybe Del Toro was under pressure. Sexas drops, and then Del Toro drops from the pacing of Remco. Stora's hanging on though, and so Stora's just hanging on. By the way, Pog goes clear, wins the race. It's obvious.
Spoilers.
Yeah, drops him, wins the race, and then Remco's just doing choo-choo mode. Gets to Simmons just at the top, and I'm like, Simmons is looking good here for the podium. He can sit on in the descent, sit on in the valley, and then maybe he can out-sprint Stora for third.
But then Simmons drops.
Yeah. Then the false summit of Ganda just gets him. Remco accelerates. I think if it was just Stora, Simmons would have been able to follow, but Remco was just too much.
Especially when Remco then decides to attack Stora in the descent, which I also didn't see coming necessarily, and gaps him properly to the point that it's now Remco Evenepoel taking time on Stora for potential second place, and the fight for the podium is kind of done after the descent of the Passo di Ganda, because sure, Stora was a little bit after Remco, but there was one more obstacle in their way, Patrick. Actually, two for Remco, but one more for everybody. There was a corner to the left with little red cones in the middle of the road. In the last 15 kilometers of a monument, shouldn't happen in any race, to be honest, but that was a bit sketchy to say the least. And lastly, Remco Evenepoel was then to be honest, Patrick, should there be an asterisk next to Tadej Pogacar's victory when Remco Evenepoel was stopped by a motorbike on the final climb? Oi, 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 oi. The gap was only 2 minutes. Could have been closed.
Yeah, I think we might have to have an asterisk for this victory of Pogacar because, I mean, we don't know how far Remco was behind on the Colli Aperto. I mean, he might have been flying. So, to be fair to Remco, he dealt with it remarkably in a chill fashion. I think he must have known he had the gap on Stora. So Remco rolls over for second. Stora holds on for third. Simmons and Del Toro never came back to him. We don't see what happens. I assume Simmons drops Del Toro on Colli Aperto.
True, because they were together.
Yeah, and he puts him on 40 seconds, nearly 50 seconds.
And then Del Toro apparently wins the sprint against Pidcock 6 and so forth? Or
yeah, so Simmons fourth, which is just rewards. It would have been nice to see him a podium, but I'm also Stora getting a podium is quite nice as well. I mean, Stora, he's been preparing these Italian classics for a month now. He was at Industria and Artigianato, and then in Toscana, he was very good, where he nearly followed Del Toro on a 20-minute climb. He won Pantani, 7th in Emilia. Been very, very good all year. 2,000 UCI points. Fuck, what a year. And 2 Grand Tours at a very high level. So Stora deserved third. And for Tudor, that's a big, big result. Simmons fourth. Del Toro wins the sprint for fifth, as Benji said. Pidcock sixth. Let it out just a bit early. Seixas, well, he really let it out. Seventh. Bernal eighth. Vine had come back to that group. He kept it together for Del Toro in the sprint. Jan Oderbrook solo for 10th. Adam Yates 11th. Martinez 12th.
We won't do the entire results page, but
he's a Gira, 85 points on Uno X.
You said he was top 10, so I'm sorry about that ain't happening, buddy. Didn't happen.
Yeah, nearly.
It's a solid minute.
Yeah, big time gaps.
Can't believe Aramburu had to ride for that fraud of an Izagirre.
1 minute 50 from first to second, and then 3 minutes to third, and then 10th is on 4 minutes 30.
Yeah, so that was in Lombardia. That being said, I gotta
call out Mr. Freeb on Twitter.
What has he said?
He was only being semi-serious, but he said, semi-serious question, are there legions of pole vault fans out there complaining that Mondo Duplantis domination is boring? There are no pole vault fans because it's a boring sport. No one's watched that shit outside of an Olympics. Would you watch Michael Phelps on a weekly basis? I don't think so.
No fucking way.
Once every 4 years is enough. So,
that is very true.
Pog 5 Lombardia in a row, never been done before. Caps off his best season ever. I think this is his best season ever, right?
Let's judge here for a second. He wins Lombardia. He wins the Tour de France, LBL, second in Roubaix, RVV. So 3 monuments.
Yep.
And a Grand Tour. I think last year was pretty good too. I feel like we were skipping over the fact that last year he won 2 monuments and 2 Grand Tours and the World Championships on both regards as well. I don't know. It was pretty fair on level.
I think this year was better.
Sanremo was way more fun this year, no? I don't remember what happened last year. Oh, Philipsen won last year. It was a great race last year.
I think he was more dominant even this year. I mean, he did 50. He did less race days, only 25 more UCI points, so about the same amount of UCI points in less days. I think
they're both pretty good seasons, to be honest. I don't see much of a difference outside of like winning 3 monuments and 1 Grand Tour versus 2 Grand Tours and 2 monuments. I think it's pretty even.
Yeah, true. It's hard to draw a line between them. He won Lombardia by what the fuck? He won Lombardia by 3 minutes last year?
Correct. Different parkour though, eh?
Okay.
The last climb was a bit close to the finish line, I think, Como de Hermano.
Maybe, yeah.
And not that big of a difference, to be honest. Either way, I think the 2 things I do want to mention is Rafa Majka, great career.
Yeah.
If you remember his polka dot jerseys at Tinkoff Saxo back in the day, the years where he struggled to be a GC leader himself and then eventually chose to become a domestique. One of the only riders that I can remember that really was a domestique for 2 iconic people in the sport, for Contador back in the day and Pogacar these days. So GGWP, I would say about Rafa Majka, but also Remco's last race for Soudal Quickstep. So it might not have been the most enticing race of the season, but it is a milestone race in terms of the crossover to next year, because
and Kjaersbroek's last race for Visma.
Well, yeah, but sorry, there's levels here.
It is sad to see Remco like. We'll do it in the off-season pod, but yes, end of an era, the end of the Remco Quickstep era.
It's about time. We've had 3 years of discussing a potential transfer. Fucking finally, my friend. I'm not sure I'm super confident in where he's going, especially after today again, but finally in some other colors next year.
Yeah, probably it needed to happen. I think that's sort of accepted by everybody. What did we learn from this, Benji?
What did we learn? I don't know. Nothing? Literally the preview podcast. 3 days ago, I said into a microphone, there will be a breakaway of 13 to 15 riders. There were 14 riders in the breakaway. I said UAE would control it. I didn't think that Red Bull would be brain dead enough to help them. So that's wrong in my prediction, I guess. But in the end, Pogacar attacked on the Passo di Ganda, as expected, and rode away to the victory. I'm sorry, but you could have just tuned into the preview pod. You didn't have to watch the race.
It was like watching a UAE training ride, honestly.
No. Pogacar on a UAE training ride tells you, we're working here. Remember? Was that not a clip today on social media? There was a clip today of Tadej Pogacar telling a guy behind him on a training ride to give them more space because he was working or something.
Oh, no.
Was that a fair reaction?
No, he said stay to the right of the road because the guy
No, there's another clip.
There's another clip.
Yeah.
Well, he's not wearing his Do Not Take Photos jersey. If he was wearing the Do Not Take Photos jersey, then I hope my wife's got it for me for Christmas. I pray. I want it so bad. I want that jersey. Cruising around the Gold Coast with that jersey on.
And instead of taking 0 pictures with fans, you'll now take 0 pictures with fans because nobody cares about you,
I don't
Patrick.
see anybody. I ride in the middle of the hinterland at 5 a.m. There isn't any human. I see marsupials. That's it.
But the koalas can't read, so they will still take pictures of you.
I'm impressed, Remco. I think Remco was probably emotional. I mean, I couldn't believe he didn't He was so chill when the motorbikes blocked him. I think Paul Seychelles, that is a crazy result. I would say that's the crazy. I know he's 19 and he probably could have top 10 worlds if he rode a really conservative race. He's come 7th in Lombardia. He's a crazy season.
Maybe we should do, we always say this, maybe we should do this on an off-season podcast, but like ranking like the top 100 riders in the sport, where would Seychelles now be already?
Like if you did a draft for the next 3 years?
He's already in the top 20, right?
Top 20, Benji?
He's top 15?
Top 5.
I'm being top 5 in the sport? No, I'm not having that.
Yeah.
Paul Seychelles right now, his current life is not a top 5
if you were
drafting him,
do you know how much money you could get out of Total Energies if you have a French 19-year-old doing this?
I'm not sure. I didn't talk about drafting. You mentioned draft. I'm talking about just listing them in a ranking.
Like ranking them?
Yes.
Right. Who's first?
You're so NFL pilled, my friend.
I know NFL. It's cooked my head. Who's first?
Not the Mets.
Pog. Not the Mets. That's correct. Fuck the Phillies. Maybe your guys should learn to throw to first base, not to home next time, buddy.
Your guys?
No. The Mets didn't even make the playoffs. Yeah, your Phillies. Okay, Pog first. Who's second?
Mathieu van der Poel. Just instant thought.
You reckon?
Yes. Vingegaard is a close battle, you know?
But Van der Poel, he gives you Roubaix, he gives you San Remo.
Let the pro rest. Let the pro golf, okay?
He refused to win green.
Let pro golf.
Yeah, but his cumulative performance across the season has to be factored in. He's the best cobbled rider, but I think
MVP.
Remco's... Is it not Remco too?
Oh, you got Remco on. I don't have that.
Really?
Too little GC action this year.
Yeah, but I also have I can fix him mentality with Remco.
I can fix him.
Like
you have a toxic relationship with Remco is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, but I was always a hardcore Remco fan. Like I've been a hardcore Remco fan since 2017.
Remco is not in my top 3.
Nah, you're overrating everything. You're forgetting this sport is about the Grand Tours more than the...
Paris-Roubaix is the best race out there, buddy.
I know. I agree with you. San Remo and Roubaix are really exciting, but the Grand Tours...
Even though they were shit in the last 2 years, but Roubaix... MSR was great this year.
MSR's class, yeah. But,
and last year too.
Yeah.
I'm actually... I'll be honest. I have to confess. When this podcast started, you were like... Me, MSR is the best monument out there.
It is the best monument.
I'm moving towards that same opinion because Roubaix has disappointed me too many times in the last 2 years.
I'm telling you, MSR is the best monument. It's not a hot take.
Because there's no space to have bad luck in the last 20 kilometers.
Because it's not that hard.
Unless you're Filippo Ganna.
Because it's really long, but it's not that hard. There is space to have bad luck.
Someone in the chat just said Roubaix sucks. Watch Roubaix 2016 and come back to us, buddy.
No, Roubaix this year was a bit... I don't know, man.
Yeah, but I live in 2016, my friend.
Okay, let's just say no particular order. Pog, your Van der Poel, give you that. Vingegaard, Remco, that's 4. Pedersen 5th. Okay.
Definitely in the top 10. I need to make sure I don't forget anyone.
Is in the top 10.
I think it's a fair assessment. How do you rate sprinters, though, compared to others?
Yeah,
that's
true.
A difficult one, eh?
I think I might take Merlier over Van der Poel.
I think right now I take Merlier. No, you take. That's not how that works. It's not a draft. Right now I'd put Merlier above Seychelles, but that's definitely going to change in the future.
Yeah,
because Merlier is old as fuck.
But will the French pressure get to him?
Nothing can get to Paul Seychelles, my friend. Not even your
would you
wrong
take
pronunciations.
You get a 5-year contract, you get to sign one. Del Toro or Seychelles? It's tough.
I think it is tough because Del Toro right now has shown better results, but also with Del Toro, you're like, I do expect him to increase from the level he's at.
I think he might keep improving, yeah.
But with Paul Seychelles, you also have the feeling of the unknown ceiling completely, you know? So
I think Del Toro's probably more talented, but the commercial value of a French GC ride is so much higher.
I think Paul 6us, because I can invest in Paul 6us teddy bears and sell them much easier.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I have to potentially do tariffs, pay tariffs to export the teddy bears to Mexico.
Exactly.
Which shipping costs will be higher. So I think it's easier to work with Paul 6us teddy bears.
That's why I think Seixas is one of the most valuable riders in the sport already. I reckon because he's French.
Oh.
Like, you can build a whole franchise around him, which is a huge amount of pressure. It's what Decathlon
like
probably do. Yeah, so Skelmoser thinks.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, I just wanted to give props to Seixas and let's go Cam Scatterbo. Thanks for listening to Little Lombardia preview. We'll see you at the weekly show on
Patrick
Tuesday.
Just had a stroke.
Ciao, ciao.